Silence is uncomfortable. When someone misunderstands you, when they question your decisions, when they judge you without knowing the full story, your first instinct is to explain, to defend yourself, to clarify, to prove you are right. But what if that instinct is quietly destroying your authority? What if every time you over-explain, you are unknowingly giving away power? History, psychology, and human behavior reveal something surprising. The people who command the most respect often say the least. And the moment you understand why, the way you communicate will change forever. Most people believe explaining themselves shows honesty. It feels logical. If others understand your intentions, conflict disappears, right? Not exactly. In reality, constant explanation often signals uncertainty. When you repeatedly justify your actions, you communicate something deeper, even if you don't realize it. You signal that you need approval, and human psychology reacts to that instantly. People tend to trust confidence more than justification. They assume that someone who is secure in their decisions does not feel pressured to defend every choice. This is why powerful leaders, respected professionals, and emotionally strong individuals rarely over-explain themselves. They understand a simple truth. Confidence speaks quietly. Insecurity explains loudly. Think about moments when you felt completely certain about something. You didn't feel the need to argue endlessly. You didn't prepare long speeches to convince others. You simply decided and moved forward. Now compare that to moments when you doubted yourself. You probably added extra details, extra reasoning, extra justification. Not because others demanded it, but because you were trying to remove discomfort. Over-explaining is often an attempt to control how others perceive us, but paradoxically, it creates the opposite effect. The more you explain, the more people sense hesitation, and hesitation invites judgment. Human beings constantly read social signals beneath words. We don't just listen to what people say, we interpret confidence, certainty, and emotional stability. When someone calmly states a decision without excessive explanation, it signals clarity. But when someone continues explaining long after their point is understood, it creates doubt. Listeners begin to wonder, why are they trying so hard to convince me? And once that question appears, authority weakens. This doesn't happen consciously, it happens automatically. Because confidence is perceived, not announced. There is another hidden danger in explaining yourself too much. You give others control over your decisions. Every explanation opens the door for negotiation. When you justify your choices repeatedly, you invite debate about things that were never meant to be debated. Suddenly, people feel entitled to approve or reject your reasoning. Instead of respecting your boundaries, they begin testing them. And over time, this changes relationship dynamics. You move from being respected to being evaluated. Strong communicators understand that not every decision requires public approval. Some decisions simply require calm certainty. This doesn't mean silence is arrogance. It means understanding when explanation is necessary and when it becomes self-defense. There is a difference between clear communication and seeking validation. Clear communication is brief and purposeful. Validation seeking sounds like repetition. It sounds like adding more reasons after the point is already made. It sounds like trying to eliminate every possible misunderstanding. But misunderstandings are unavoidable. No amount of explaining guarantees universal agreement. And chasing that goal drains emotional energy. Consider people you naturally respect. They rarely rush to defend themselves against every opinion. They listen, they respond briefly, and then they move forward. Their calmness creates an invisible boundary. Others sense that persuasion will not easily change them. And paradoxically, this makes people trust them more because stability feels safe. When someone constantly explains themselves, it signals internal conflict. When someone speaks simply and stops, it signals internal alignment. And people are drawn to alignment. There is also a psychological principle at work called perceived value. Things that are constantly justified appear less valuable. Things presented with quiet certainty appear more valuable. This applies not only to ideas, but to people. When you continuously explain your worth, your decisions, or your intentions, you unintentionally lower perceived confidence. But when you allow your actions to speak consistently over time, credibility grows naturally. Respect is rarely earned through explanation. It is earned through consistency. Of course, there are moments when explanation is necessary. Healthy relationships require communication. Leadership requires clarity. But the key difference lies in intention. Are you explaining to inform or explaining to be accepted? One comes from strength, the other comes from fear, and people can sense the difference immediately. Strong communicators explain once, clearly, and calmly. Then they stop. They allow silence to carry confidence. Learning to explain less does not happen overnight. It requires becoming comfortable with being misunderstood. It requires accepting that not everyone will agree with your choices. And most importantly, it requires trusting yourself enough to let your decisions stand without constant defense. At first, silence may feel uncomfortable. You may feel the urge to add one more sentence, one more justification, one more clarification. But restraint changes how others perceive you, and eventually how you perceive yourself, because confidence grows when you stop seeking permission to exist as you are. The truth is simple. People respect clarity. They respect calm certainty. They respect individuals who do not panic when questioned. When you stop over-explaining, conversations change. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You argue less, but people listen more. You defend less, but receive greater respect. Not because you became louder, but because you became grounded. So remember this: you do not need to explain every decision. You do not need to justify every boundary. And you do not need everyone to understand you in order to move forward. Sometimes the strongest statement you can make is calm silence, because true confidence does not rush to defend itself. It simply stands and lets actions speak.